Let's talk about squat racks and how to navigate them. So this type of rack that we have is actually attached to a larger rig. Sometimes you will see squat racks that are just standalone pieces by themselves. The most common rack that you might see in a gym will be a power cage, which is a structure with 4 posts and often a bar in the middle, which is a safety bar. When you're racking the barbell, you want to start the barbell at about collarbone height or slightly below. And the reason for this is when you're going to take the bar off the rack, you don't want to have to stand on your toes to lift the bar. For example, if the bar was too high, I would have to stand on my toes to lift the bar up out of the rack, which would not be very safe, and I wouldn't be able to keep my bracing really strong on racking the bar in this way. When in doubt, it's almost better to rack the bar just an inch too low, because you can always dip down lower to stand it up. Now the downside of racking the bar a little bit too low is you have to do a partial squat to actually stand it up, which might fatigue your legs a little bit. So about collarbone height is about right. For this rack, we have these structures called J-hooks, which are basically a J shape, and the pin goes through the hole sideways, and then you turn and twist it to allow the bar to sit down. Some squat racks will have a larger bar on the bottom called a safety bar. And what the purpose of a safety bar is it is a shelf for the bar to sit on if you were to feel a movement going down into a squat. For example, if I were to start a squat and I get stuck at the bottom and I can't stand up, I'm going to let the bar rest on the rack so that I can bail out of it. Most power cages will have a bar that extends between the poles, and you can adjust them up and down based on your height. And you want the height of the safety bar to be just a couple inches below where the bottom of your squat is. If it's too high, the bar is going to hit the safety bar every single time. And if it's too low, the bar is going to have to travel a long ways before you can bail out of it. So as you're doing the squat with the empty bar, go ahead and find where the bottom position of your squat is, and then adjust those bars to be just below where that bottom position is. So if you fail and you can't get out, safety bars are right there to catch your barbell. Now if you don't have safety bars, that's not a huge issue. Most of the time you're going to be working with weights that are light enough that you can stand up with anyways. But if for some reason you didn't have safety bars and you couldn't stand up the weight, then we're going to go over how to bail properly, and that'll come later when we talk about front squats and back squat safety. So when taking any bar out of the rack, you're always going to go backwards 99% of the time. The only reason why you would go forward is if you were going to do some type of weighted carry where you're going to walk a long distance with the bar and you don't want to have to turn around. Usually coming out of the bar backwards is a lot safer because then you can see the poles when you're ready to re-rack the bar, so you know where to go when you have to walk the bar back in. As you unrack the bar, breathe and brace properly, ribs down, take a big breath in, stand up with the bar, and then walk out no more than 1.5 to 2 feet. You don't want to be so far away where you have a long distance to travel before you have to go back into the rack and you're just taking up floor space. But basically just 1.5 feet away so that you're not hitting the J hooks as you go down into your squat, which is a big safety concern. So after you do your reps and you're done with your set, you're going to walk the bar until it hits the posts on both sides. And that way you know that the bar is in the J hooks and it's secure before you set the bar back down. Lastly, it is always good etiquette to make sure that you put your weights away after you're done with them and don't leave them on the rack for someone else to use, because that person may or may not be using the same exact weight as you. And it would be a hassle for that person to have to adjust the weights if they were going to do a different movement.